Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, and shall we see what's going on a lovely island of Fawnhollow today. Do you see that? I clicked the A button so quickly when that loaded up for some reason, And it felt wrong, whenever you get into a sense of rhythm and things, and you've got certain patterns which start emerging after you do something, say, for 500 days in a row. Oh, what a segue. Yeah, it starts to feel a bit weird. But yeah, apparently this is day 501. I didn't even realise it was day 500 yesterday until it was pointed out to me on my Dear Line Discord server, which you can find links down to below, which actually apparently they sent it like ages ago. I didn't see it. I'm sorry. Apparently I didn't check Discord nearly enough. But anyway, hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow at 6:04 PM on Saturday, August 7th, 2021. Nothing to really speak of today, so we'll go about usual business, but yeah, I just want to say, I mean, if you're here if you've been here, whether you've been here from day 1 or day 499, or maybe this is your first day, I don't know, thank you for tuning into all these sort of random Animal Crossing videos, which kind of strayed away from Animal Crossing and have much gone into sort of my incessant ramblings, which probably today will be as well. Yeah, thank you. It's been a long journey, and I'm sure there's many more days to come, hopefully, or not. I mean, I don't know, like, anything can happen. Let's not predict the future before we know exactly what's going on. I was thinking, Canopy. Okay, so bear with me here. I was thinking. Oh wait, I'm pretty sure we got this one. At least very much seems familiar. No surprise that we've seen a lot of these letters over and over again. But yeah, day 500. Isn't that crazy? About like a year and a half-ish or so. Well, okay, technically a bit under a year and a half, but still, the fact that it has been going on for this long is pretty crazy, I think. Even to begin with. In fact, we're still going is perhaps a testament to diligence, if anything, and nothing more, really. But honestly, I'm having a great time. It's fun to talk about things, and today I actually do have something I want to talk about. And having, I suppose, like a vessel to talk about this through, with just relaxing Animal Crossing vibes in the background is certainly a good backdrop for my sort of thing. I talked about before how maybe I'd do like Binding of Isaac or something. I don't think Binding of Isaac is actually like the right aesthetic what I was going for. If I were to switch to a game, maybe I'd do like Mario Kart or something. Or my friend Ali suggested that maybe I should do like Gartic Phone, just join random servers and do drawing things instead. And I feel like that could actually work. I didn't want to turn this into much of a drawing channel. I had my own like drawing avenues and that sort of thing. But this is much more of a focus on my gameplay of that sort of thing. But lean into what I do best. If drawing is what people are interested in, then so be it. But yeah, by the way, not at all related to what I wanted to talk about today. Today, what I wanted to talk about was Pokemon Unite. And, I'm not sure if I talked about it. I think I talked about it ages ago, like years ago, when it was first announced or something. But they, not Nintendo, but the Pokemon company, I suppose, had a Pokemon MOBA that works, and I think I talked about it then being like, it sort of seems like everyone wants to jump on the MOBA train. Pokemon seems like it's coming a little bit late to it. I wonder if it will still hold up. Probably, I shouldn't have underestimated the power of a Pokemon IP because tons of people are playing it. Unsurprisingly, people have been playing it. I think it's been out for 2 weeks or so now. Don't quote me on that, I don't quite remember. But especially because at the time when it was announced, it was already, I think, past the heyday of like people trying to jump on the MOBA train. You already had so many failed MOBAs like that DC Heroes one. I actually completely forgot that villagers could take like selfies and that sort of thing. So I was like, is that a new animation? They had an Adventure Time Battle Party. It felt like any old, franchise could try and cash in a MOBA thing, and Pokemon was doing it particularly late. But, it's come out, and actually quite a big fanfare. People played it a lot. Mostly the complaints I've seen about it is not so much the simplified gameplay, which is fair enough, because I think it's I think the gameplay is completely fine. I think a lot of the criticisms come to the predatory, or I'm not going to say predatory because it's not as predatory as some other mobile games, but the heavy use of monetization systems inside of them. If it's financial model, which I suppose if you're like me, you'll just sort of be like, that's just kind of how it is nowadays. If you're much more cynical, you'll be a lot more bitter about that sort of thing, I suppose. But I suppose it does also give rise to avenues of many more free-to-play games, which are much more accessible to people in the first place, and people can hopefully pick and choose exactly how and when they spend on it. In theory. In practice, I think for most people, it does turn out that way. But you're always got like your hyper whales and the people who unfortunately spend much more than they should. But that's not really my place to discuss about that sort of things, like I'm not well researched or particularly I'm not gonna say well invested, well like in the know about that sort of area. Like I have awareness about it, but everything I say is just going to be unsubstantiated not, I was going to hearsay, that's a bit too far, just my own random opinions and things like that, which is, you know, I mean, it's got merit to a certain extent, like everything, I suppose, has merit to a certain extent, but the merit it holds is not really worth delving into. So yeah, I'm not really going to comment about the financial system, because I played it for the first time 2 days ago? Yesterday? I can't remember. And I thought it was fine, you know, it was, it's not exactly my cup of tea. I can't see me like dedicating huge amounts of time to it. But if it's the sort of thing where if my friends were like, hey, you want to, apparently we have 2 little valleys up here, I haven't been up here for ages. If some of my friends were just like, hey, you want to have a quick game of Pokemon Unite or something right now, I'd be like, sure, why not? If some of my friends were like, hey, do you want to play the next 6 hours playing Pokemon Unite, I'm going to be like, nah, I'm good. It's a bit too much on me, to be honest. Hot item, seashells, flowers, okay. That's fine. To be perfectly honest, like if you like playing that game, by all means. Like I'm not sure if I talked about Wild Rift when it came out, which is a League of Legends mobile board, which I have similar things that I have problems with the mobile Wild Rift, which I do with Pokemon Unite, and it's not actually really to do with gameplay. I think the gameplay is completely fine. It's just more like a personal thing, which means it doesn't appeal to me. Is I don't like the control systems on that sort of game. The MOBA genre, I suppose, in general, is not particularly well made for non-PC platforms, in my opinion, because I feel like since it delves so much into like a real-time strategy aspect of it, you kind of need a precision of a mouse, I feel like, a lot of time to really get things done. I feel like joystick's okay to move around with, but like targeting and doing selection of that and aiming skill shots of that sort of thing feels not trivialized, but the impact of it is kind of lessened, because a lot of time they had to have like auto lock on that sort of thing in these sorts of games, and it's, in my opinion, it's always a little bit finicky trying to get not targeting systems working, but it doesn't feel smooth. At least my impression that I always get from it is like the control, I don't feel like I have total control over what's going on, which is kind of what I like from a game. I'd rather react to the game mechanics, the game systems rather than the game mechanics. I'd rather the game mechanics be in my control entirely, but you know, your mileage may vary with that sort of thing, and you know, perhaps you might just say, and I think validly so, that it's just down to me not having experience, I suppose, in this sort of genre and the control system and the control scheme and that sort of thing, so I'm not very used to playing like this, and thus it feels like it's not in my control, and I think that's totally fair. But the counterpoint to that is I don't want to learn essentially how to play a game again. I'm no longer at the age where I want to invest a huge amount of time in these sort of games. I want to just like pick up a game, be like, do I like playing it? Yes, no, play it, don't play it. Simple as that. And you might say that's a bit of a binary way to look at things of how you want to play games, and yeah, I do agree to an extent, but also I just want to play games to have fun like most other people. And if I play the game and it's like, oh, this seems like a cool game, but the barrier to me having fun with it is like basically investing a lot of time into it to wrestle with a control scheme, which is not a part I find particularly interesting to me. Is to get a handle on to get a handle of control over recreational things like that. Like, I suppose if it's for more like educational or academic purposes, I have no problem with that sort of thing. I see it, I suppose, more of a challenge, if anything. But certainly my recreational time, I'd rather perhaps, you know, unknowingly safely, but I'd like to just do things which are easy, but which I know how to already chill out with, I suppose. So yeah, I think the Pokemon Unite system is actually really good because it's very, very short. It's 10 minutes max, and I feel like Wild Rift was something like that. I think the games were like 15 minutes. I think 15 minutes teeters on a little bit too long, in my opinion, for like a mobile game, that sort of thing. All the mobile games I tend to play right now tend to be things that you can hop in and basically be done under 10 minutes, which is why they tend to basically amount to rhythm games and that sort of thing. You play a few songs, you can accelerate the process by using certain systems which consume more stamina than usual quickly, and then you're done, basically. Let's not sell that. No. I was meant to sell this ages ago, wasn't I? Never sold it. I'm pretty sure that was a hot item. A couple of days back, but apparently I didn't sell it. But yeah. My point being, Wild Rift always felt a little bit too long to me, and also playing it on the phone is too small a screen for me personally. I don't have great eyesight in the first place, so me straining my eyes, I feel like on the tiny screen of the phone is not conducive to, you know, prolonging the well-being and healthiness of my eyesight and that sort of thing. So I don't like to do it for that long, and I started getting I'm not gonna say I got headaches, but it's sort of been like, you know, I got really fatigued from playing Wild Rift for too long. It's probably better on a tablet. I don't own a tablet, and I don't really intend to. It's a sort of thing. I feel like I must have spoken about this because it feels very familiar. The conclusion I basically came to was if I wanted a League of Legends experience, I would play it on my computer, not my tablet. But I can see the benefit of it, you know, playing basically away from your computer and that sort of thing. I think Pokemon Unite benefits a lot from the fact that it's on basically a video game console, which is made to be a portable video game console in the first place, the Switch. I like playing, I suppose, on the Switch a bit better. The screen's a bit bigger. I'm not gonna say it. I guess it feels a bit more comfortable to me to have actual controllers to play with rather than necessarily just using the touchscreen on a mobile, but your mileage may vary when it comes to that. Yeah, and the fact that I think it was 10-minute games. 10 minutes is very, very quick. In fact, it's lightning quick almost. But it feels like things are basically, I'm not going to say it's too quick because it doesn't feel too quick. I think it feels like a good balance between getting a decent amount of gameplay in and also, you know, it being something that you can do just like that. Wooden Bucket, I think, should be the easiest out of those ones, but Plain Wooden Chop Sign is also pretty easy from what I recall. Is that a bucket? No, there's a waste bin, that makes sense. That's a bucket. Nugget and wood. Okay. Can do. Let's get 2 coconuts so we can make a coconut thing as well. Yeah, the gameplay loop follows... Actually, it follows quite differently from MOBA because it's not so much about destroying bases. What it is they kind of do away with a lot of the XP system. Well, I mean, the XP system's still there, but they do away with like the gold and item systems that a lot of MOBAs put into, and the power is vastly simplified. Like, you don't have much of a branching skill tree. You have basically the first level you can pick 1 or 2 abilities. The next level you pick another ability. The third level, or the next upgrade you get is you can upgrade one of your abilities, and then you can choose then you get your ultimate, and then you upgrade the other ability, something like that. There's not a huge skill tree variety, and that sort of thing is something you choose most of the time at the beginning of a match. I think I must say, I'm going to preface everything with I'm not an expert at Pokemon Unite. I've played about 3 games. I've seen a decent amount of gameplay. Of course, I'm Northern Line playing, but I don't think that's necessarily, it doesn't always translate particularly well to knowledge yourself. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. If you play the game and you have fun with it, by all means, carry on. If you play the game and you didn't have fun with it, very fair and valid too. I'm not here to criticize any of those opinions, and nor would I in the first place. I don't know why I would. But yeah, so yeah, it's very shallow, I suppose, the amount of choice, I suppose, of what you got going on in the game. Like, the strategy you have is very bare bones. That is not the mechanical strategy, but the strategical strategy. I don't know. It's simple, which is fair enough because I mean, Pokemon is a very all ages franchise. Of course, they got to appeal to people, kids who are younger who might not necessarily have the time. Like, you know, when I mean younger, I don't mean like 10 or 11, who I'm sure could like learn the intricacies of League of Legends, because I mean, I kind of did around that age as well. Well, these are difficult challenges. Buy items and catch fish are like the only ones we can do, but still. I'm talking like there's probably like 6-year-olds or something playing the game. Probably. I don't actually know if that's true or not, but I'm not going to be surprised because Pokemon is very popular for all ages. I'm not going to be surprised if there's going to be a 6-year-old being like, I want to try playing this game too. So yeah. Of course, they had to simplify things down a lot because it's going to make it accessible for a lot of people like that, and I'm sure maybe parents want to play with their kids as well if they've got Switches and that sort of thing. So parents, not all parents exactly know about video games and that sort of thing. So I mean, of course, times are changing as people who got brought up with video games are certainly getting older and that sort of thing, but still. So I don't really have a problem with the simplified systems. In fact, I think the simplified systems are quite elegant for what it's got going on. Instead of having gold and that sort of thing, all the Pokemon, they drop like points, I suppose. And these points, you had to basically go to an opponent's capture point to basically slam a basketball hoop and get a slam dunk or something, and that's how you score points in the game, and then whichever team has the most points in the end wins. I'm sorry, I said points many times. I think that's actually quite a good change up from the usual systems. It's much more simplified, and I suppose it takes it's a lot easier to understand, I think, for most people compared to the concept of like pushing down buildings and the minions and the waves, and pushing down like inhibitors or what are they called in Dota? I should know this. barracks or something, and then eventually taking down Ancient or the Nexus or whatever your equivalent is in the game. And I suppose it's a necessary thing because the designers who ever came up with the game design of the game, they wanted every game to be strictly 10 minutes, and every game is strictly 10 minutes. You can't really have that with a game based around pushing like pushing down through buildings or like waves of minions or something, or creeps or whatever the equivalent is going down, because the game's always going to be variable and everything like that. The only way that you can't is if you have like an event which basically goes at 10 minutes, you know, something's going to be, it's basically sudden death, and then like within another 2 minutes or something the game will be decided, which can feel a bit anticlimactic, and unless you give like very notable benefits, I suppose, to teams who pushed far enough, it's going to feel like all the effort that they put into early into the game has basically no bearing on the end of the game. So I think it's a difficult balance, and I think this is actually quite a nice solution to go around it. To have a fixed problem is all about point scoring, so they can always fix the amount of time that you have to play the game, so you always know how long a Pokemon Unite game is going to take. It's going to take about 10 minutes to play the actual game, 1 minute maybe for champion select. Either side. Okay, hello, another hammerhead shark. You can tell that was a shark because how violently my controller was vibrating. But still, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. The skill system I said is quite simple. I think readability-wise, actually, this is where Pokemon Unite kind of falls. It's very difficult for me to really understand what's going on. I feel like a lot of the time, particle effects are not very clear. It's not very clear when you get last hits. The only thing you have is like a very tiny like Pokeball flying out to your character or whoever character's got the last hits, which is not very clear to me. But yeah, I guess you do have announcements on the bigger things, but the announcements are very subdued, I would say. But they don't. There's not like a lot of other games that have like a banner at the top being like, "This is an important announcement." I feel like a lot of the time they just sort of go unnoticed almost. But you know, I'm not a hard designer, so perhaps that's not really my place to criticize. But it's the sort of thing I notice like that. A lot of clarity in the game's kind of lost to me. I had a lot of time also not being entirely clear about what some abilities do and don't do. Like there's Mr. Mime. One problem I had with him is I don't quite understand if his barrier, because what I didn't realise is his barrier actually stops, I believe, movement from going through. I don't know if maybe all forms of his barrier do that sort of thing, but it wasn't particularly clear to me because of how like translucent the barrier was in the first place. I thought it was just stopping my projectiles from going through, and didn't realise it stopped my movement as well. Which, you know, to be fair, I think you could criticise me for by being like, that's kind of on you. I feel like the clarity is there and fair enough, and I'm like, you know what, fair. I can definitely see what's coming from, but there's a lot of times where in teamfights I basically have no idea what's going on. I don't know if someone's used that ultimate or that sort of thing. And to be fair, I feel like this is a sort of problem a lot of MOBAs run into, and clarity, especially to new people. It's very difficult to understand what's going on. And I feel like it's compounded on the fact that mechanical strategy in Pokemon Unite is actually not as deep. You know, there's not. But there is kiting, that sort of thing, but it's very easy to kite. You hold down an analog stick and you mash A to use your auto attack, and you just use your abilities or buttons. And of course, a lot of the abilities tend to be simplified because that's how they need to implement them, because it's quite difficult to have like a line skill shot. So they had to have a line skill shot which locks onto someone kind of when you use it, or you just have AoE abilities. At least that was the vibe I got from playing Eldegoss, who is the person I played about 3 times, because I like playing supports and that sort of thing. And you might say, hey, that's probably not very conducive representation of exactly what the game's like, and I say yes, that's exactly what I prefaced this entire talk about, is that I don't have that much experience, at least to sort of like my first thoughts in passing. I found it very difficult to really understand what was going on. I don't really understand exactly the moves that other Pokemon have. I know Mr. Mime has a wall, and he's got some sort of line skill shot. That's about it. I have no idea what Talonflame does, except for he can like dive into the air or something. He can like go up into the air and dive down again, and then like I think Snorlax has like some sort of ground slam, and I was just like, I don't really know what's going on, but I think that's something which will change the more you play it. But I do think visually it's not very clear compared to a lot of other games. They do have like circles on the ground and that sort of thing, but other things aren't portrayed super clearly in my mind. Things like Eldegoss's ult, I was like, you know, it's just kind of like you fade out slightly and you hop up into the air. I found it kind of difficult to see who the other Eldegoss on the enemy team, but you know, your mileage may vary when it comes to that sort of thing, so play for yourself before you really take my words at face value. But I think it's maybe because I feel like I also found, to be fair, League of Legends quite difficult to understand when I first played it. I feel like part of it's just the adjustment period of being able to recognise exactly what you're looking at. So I don't know if that's quite how it's going to hold on, but yeah, as I said, mechanical expression isn't all that there. Kiting is obviously extremely easy when you don't have to move back and forth with your mouse, which I think is a good thing, and it's nice that it's simplified. But it also felt like, to me, I couldn't really outplay my opponents all that much. It was difficult to outplay. I would like use my abilities basically on cooldown for most situations, because like, why wouldn't you? Like, I mean, I use my shield just before the allies take damage, and that's about the amount of expression that goes through. I use my other ability on cooldown to maximize the DPS and maximize healing. There's not too much nuance. I suppose the nuance is, can I aim at my allies instead to heal them? But even then, that's a little bit, because they have like a lock-on system to enemies as well. It's quite difficult to really do, I'd say. Of course, again, your mileage may vary. I might just be bad at this game, and I probably am. Not probably am. I am. I haven't played that often. It's just like before I get. Another problem I had, I felt like it was quite difficult to really do anything. The games I played, basically what it seems like the meta is 2 people go top lane, 2 people go bot lane, and 1 person jungles in the middle. I found it quite difficult to do anything. Like, the only times anything could really do, we could do anything or get a push on to even slam any basketball hoop points was during when the jungler ganked. So a lot of it really relies on the jungler really doing anything. Otherwise you're just sort of stuck in a 2v2 where you can kill someone, but it's very easy to run away, it's very easy to heal up again, and death times are so short. You'd have to kill both your enemies in very quick succession and hope your jungler doesn't come to even potentially get a dunk. And to be fair, I think that's not so much a criticize on the mechanics themselves, that's just how the meta develops, I suppose. And it's just sort of like that sort of gameplay isn't as engaging to me. I like to have the sort of back and forth. We're very proactive. We're both sides trying to really outplay each other. I felt like I wasn't really given so much about opportunities. And you might say, maybe that's because you're playing a support. And, you know, I think that's quite valid. I feel like that's just... I do like playing supports, don't get me wrong. And I love playing supports. That's, you know, why I always pick that sort of class. And when it comes to any sort of game I play. But I felt like even as a support... Usually in other games, I can feel like I'm being proactive. I can feel like I'm doing things, empowering my allies, and that sort of thing. I don't really feel like I was doing that as much. I felt like I was just an AoE shield, essentially, and basically had no damage, which is fair. I shouldn't be able to have such utility and also have damage at the same time. That's a little bit too much, but still, it's it left things to be desired, I suppose, while I was playing it. And that might just be something where I need to play more to really understand and get to the depths of really the strategy and that sort of thing before I really truly appreciate it. But I can't be bothered, basically, is that sort of thing. I don't want to invest that much time into that sort of game. I just want to be playing it. Am I having fun? Yes, no, simples. Which you might say, that's overly reductive, but then I'd point you to the fact that I'm playing a load of other games for my series. And that sort of thing is where I can go to, you know, push through necessarily parts which I'm not having necessarily as much fun with, to eventually get to the good parts of that sort of game. When I'm playing it for my own recreational time, you know, forgive me for prioritising my own fun, I suppose. So yeah, I feel like there's still a lot to unpack there, because you often find with games, even with very simplistic mechanics and gameplay and controls and that sort of thing, you can garner quite a lot of depth and strategy from it, which I just haven't quite been enlightened to yet. So, that's something which hopefully will become much clearer to me the more I play. And if it doesn't, then, you know, that's just how it be. It just wasn't the game for me. But yeah, I felt like stalemates are very common until basically it felt like a huge not coin flip at the end, but until it just basically gets to, oh, who gets Zapdos? And then if you get Zapdos, you run to your opponent's base, and because there's an instant dunk, that basically decides the entire game. And I'm on 2 minds about this. One, it kind of invalidates a lot of lead up to what's going on, but as a support I don't get many opportunities to sort of dunk my points in the first place, so I guess it's not too bad. But I have a worry about this sort of thing. It's going to feel very coin flippy. It's going to basically be like, oh, you know, one side could be doing extremely well, they can be winning, not like heavily dominating, but still winning enough, and then suddenly, you know, if your enemy team just suddenly gets the Zapdos at the end, suddenly it's a huge momentum thing, and perhaps I don't have a problem with it being a momentum swing because there's nothing more disheartening than playing a game and being like, oh, there's no chance we can win, why am I still playing this game? Because that does keep that hope alive. But I worry if it's going to be too good a momentum swing, because it gives you a load of points to be able to go dunk him, and then it also allows you for a short time to immediately to dunk things immediately. So you sort of just make a beeline for the opponent's goal through any means possible, and you just dunk your points. And you know, it's a huge swing. I'm not going to comment on much of a meta of that sort of thing because, for all I know, it's perfectly balanced. You know, it's actually the perfect amount of points and swing necessary. I just wonder, because there's not really much you can do about it. If you want these sort of short games and you want basically both sides to feel like they have a chance throughout the entire thing, you're going to have this sort of swing. You're going to basically have to have some sort of comeback mechanic. You can't have both a comeback mechanic to make sure every game feels close. There's always a chance to win versus being able to build up a slow and steady lead and having it actually like being able to effectively checkmate your opponents early, that sort of thing. You can't really have both. They're sort of at odds with each other, aren't they? So that makes it quite difficult to balance. So I think in these sort of short games, perfectly fine. But this is how it should be, shouldn't it? It's totally okay to have a sort of swingy thing. I don't really plan on playing ranked unless like my friends and I play ranked with me or something. But yeah, so I'm not going to be caught up too much in the competitive minutiae. I think it's just the biggest problem that I had with a game, as with all these sort of like MOBA style games when you're new to them, I just couldn't really tell what was going on. I couldn't tell what my opponents were doing, and it felt weird. It felt very strange. And I had that thing with Wild Rift as well, except for it was the opposite problem. With Pokemon, like your skill shots and that sort of thing seem to lock on to enemies very easily. I don't know. I suppose actually might not be the case of every character. Maybe it's just Eldegoss. But it sort of trivializes a lot of the mechanical skill it takes in the game, which you know, it's something I do like a lot in that sort of game. Is like these precise mechanical strategy thing. I used to think I was a very like overarching strategy sort of person, and to a certain extent I am when it comes to puzzles and that sort of thing. But when it comes to these sort of like real-time games, I like the mechanical strategy, the mechanical small plays that you can do and that sort of thing, and aiming your skill shot. But I feel like Wild Rift had the opposite problem. They don't have lock-on. Oh, if it did, it was very like simple lock-on from what I recall, which made it very difficult to hit things in the fast pace, especially because movement is a lot more major in the game. Oh, you know what? I do have I think this is a much more objective, fair criticism, because everything I said so far has basically been subjective. It's basically been like what I like from games, what I don't like from games, and some things which I think are very much subjective. A bit more objectively, I feel like the grind seems like there's a lot of it in the game. I feel like it's just sort of customary for all these sort of games now. They always have like daily challenges, battle pass systems, and that sort of thing. But the leveling system, I understand why you'd put a leveling system in the game, is to slowly introduce mechanics to players so they don't get sort of overwhelmed in the early days and get sort of like analysis paralysis and get put off the game for that sort of way. But I'm surprised that these sort of items are so heavily gated. I guess it goes back into the monetary system. I was looking into the items. You had to basically purchase items to equip. You can, I believe, purchase and equip 2 of them, but you need to be like level, I can't remember, level 7 to get your first other item slot, and then level something else to get another one. And you need to upgrade and that sort of thing and spend money on that sort of thing. And unsurprisingly, you can just spend a premium currency to do that instead, which is like, alright. Like, I guess you gotta make your money somehow, but I guess it kind of rubs me the wrong way. I understand when leveling systems are implemented in games like MOBAs or that sort of thing, because they don't want to overwhelm newbies and that sort of thing. It's like League of Legends, you don't get introduced to every summoner spell immediately, because otherwise that's a bit overwhelming. You used to not be able to get access to all runes and masteries immediately either, which only came to the chagrin of Smurfs and that sort of thing. And Dota, they have a similar thing. You had to play a certain amount of games before they'll let you play any any hero that you want, which is fair. It lets people basically not get completely paralysed by the amount of choice of heroes they have, and it introduces players to much more simple heroes that they can play, so they can understand the mechanics of the game better before introducing them to much more difficult and complicated characters, which can potentially scare off new players by overwhelming them. But I feel like Pokemon doesn't need it. Even though it's a simplified game, and you might argue that if the audience is younger, that you have to have a lower expectation of how much you'll be able to understand, so you introduce things much slower. I feel like it really didn't need to. the only reason it exists in the game is for the grind, which is a bit disappointing. But you know, perhaps I'll find out the grind isn't as bad as I think it is. Because to be fair, I haven't played all that often, so maybe it's not that bad. It just, you know, it's a shame, I suppose. But I understand why it's there in the first place. So yeah, maybe I'll inform you more of my Pokemon Unite experience as I play more of it. But basically what I'm saying right now is not going to commit huge amounts of time to it, but I think it's a fun game to basically play on and off every now and then. Yeah, it's a fun time and it's very quick. Bonus points for that. And that very firmly puts it into the good books of me, is how quick it is. But yeah, should we round this episode off here then? That's been Pokemon Unite, I suppose. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join me Dear Darling Discord. Follow me on Twitter down below. Hope we can see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now, and thank you for 500 episodes.